Oh, hi, it's McRaptor here. This video you're about to watch is the first entry in a new series we're doing on breaking the meta in video games. We look for players that go against meta strats, or the strats that everybody's using, and develop their own methods, strategies, and tactics to play games in a different but still highly competitive way. In the first entry, we interview Twitch streamer Couch Jockey, who was just coming off his first Grand Finals win in the latest Dark Souls 3 Hitless tournament. He won the tournament, scoring a perfect 0 hits throughout each main match in the tournament, while using a spell-based build that nobody else uses. It was an amazing tournament to watch, and if you haven't seen the finals match yet, it's linked right here. Without further ado, let's talk to Couch. We're here talking with him now, trying to get a little bit more information about who he is, what he's about, and what it's like doing something so different than everybody else. So, Couch, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, really glad to have you here. First off, a lot of people are getting to know you now, but for those who don't know you, we just kind of want to know a little bit about you as a person. So whatever you want to share in terms of your content, in terms of what you do on the daily, what you're all about.
Well, I primarily stream Dark Souls 3, and I do challenge runs in it, more specifically magic-based no-hit runs. And that's kind of what I do. That makes up the meat of the content. And, you know, my stream is, you know, it's kind of centered around more like what the viewers want to see to a certain extent. Like I play a lot of music. I have a lot of sound effects. I try to sort of put on a show. You know, it's really just, it's a show that's meant to be watched live, you know. And I just have fun with my viewers more than anything. But yeah, that's it. That's what my content is all about.
Nice. And I definitely get that when I watch you. You are having fun with it, which is really important. But kind of how did Couch Jockey come to be? Like, what does Couch Jockey mean? I have some ideas. It's about a couch, a guy who's on a couch a lot. I'm not sure. And then what's up with the horse head, man?
So when I first had the idea to stream, I thought, dude, I didn't have very many computer monitors. Like what I had was a bunch of TVs. Like, okay, well, what's the best way to do it then if it's a bunch of TVs? And I was like, well, I could do it from a couch, right? I could sit on a couch and I could put the TVs up. And I was like, okay, so I'll just be streaming from a couch. That's kind of different. That's kind of cool. And I was like, well, so what should my name be? And then like the name Couch Jockey just kind of floated up somewhere. I think my friend Dave actually suggested it. And I was just like, okay, let's do that. And then from there, I saw an image of a guy, you know, you're probably familiar with the meme of the guy running down the street with the horse head mask. So I thought, well, and then I thought, well, if I was sitting on a couch with a horse head on, a jockey is someone who rides a horse, right? They horse race. And I was like, so a couch jockey playing video games with a horse head on kind of turns that whole thing on its head. And so that's where the horse head came from, which is from the name Couch Jockey. But the name doesn't mean anything specifically. I mean, if you Google couch jockey on Urban Dictionary, it'll just say couch potato, and so I guess that's what that is.
You know, sometimes that's all it takes, right? Just a couple little things you put together and it becomes a whole thing. And now Couch Jockey means something. It means you. So
right.
So getting into your Dark Souls 3 hitless runs, you're the first person to get the run using spells, right? It's world first.
Yeah, the pyro and sorcery any percent and all boss main game. So it's the 4 runs I've completed are the world's first and only. No one else has repeated them since I've done them as well. But I set out to do 9 world's first runs, which was the pyro, sorcery, and miracles, any percent, all boss main game, and all boss plus DLC. Of all 3, so that's, you know, it's 9 total. And so yeah, I've completed 4 out of 9 basically. And so yeah, I knew that when I completed the first few that like I was hyped, like I was excited, but I knew that the work was just beginning. You know?
Yeah. So 4 of 9, isn't that like a Star Trek like character? Am I making that up?
4 out of 9. It could be. Is that original Star Trek? Or,
no,
or
I think it's like Deep Space Nine, maybe. I don't know.
That's probably why I missed it, because I didn't watch Deep Space Nine. I didn't get that into it.
All right, so this is totally off script and off topic, but what is your favorite Star Trek series of all time?
This is an impossibly hard question. Jeez. I mean, okay. Oh man, I guess I just have to default to next gen because I'm always like, Team Picard more than, Team Shatner, Team Kirk. But I think it has to be next gen for me.
All right. That was the right answer in my opinion, so thank you for that.
All right.
All right. So you've done these runs, they're world first. You're 4 out of 9 of the way there. That's crazy. Nobody else has done these? Like,
No.
has anybody tried?
Yeah, we actually had a pyro only hitless tournament. Well, it was just like one competition. It wasn't like a bunch of rounds. It was just like a bunch of people, did it for fun. And I commentated on that. Like I did a multi Twitch stream and I just commentated on it because I didn't feel like running against all these people, because I was the only one who's done it. So it just felt kind of unfair. Yeah, that was a lot of fun for the pyro. That was a lot of good fun. But no one has actually completed any of those runs but me.
Wow. So what you're trying to say is that I'm not the first one to do a Dark Souls hitless tournament.
Well, we didn't do. I mean, that's true, but the thing is that they weren't tournaments. They were just like they called them races, but they weren't. Race was misleading. Like a better way to put it would just be competition, right? But we didn't do multiple rounds. It was just like a bunch of people like got together and then they all did one run and then sort of compared hits at the end.
Okay. Well, that's really cool because I didn't actually know that that had happened. I mean, I guess I had heard about it after fact, but I just think that whole concept is so cool. So you're like a pioneer on multiple levels. Kind of backing up a bit, how would you explain a hitless run to someone familiar with Dark Souls or Bloodborne, but not with the hitless community and all the like the hitless run mechanics?
Okay, so the idea of a hitless run is to complete the game in one session without getting hit by a single enemy, with no quit outs or intentional use of glitches, is it in a nutshell. And so the thing about that is environmental damage, like stuff that on the ground or whatever, those don't, if they hit you, they do damage to you, that doesn't matter. Fall damage doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is getting hit by an enemy or a hostile contraption like a trap. So that's the best way to think about it.
Sure. And so like an example of the environment that doesn't count that's important to your run, and we'll show a clip of this. When you're going through the lava to go pick up an item, that's not a hit, but you need to do that for your run.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing about that is the what I'm getting there is a spell called Sacred Flame, and you have to get through the lava to pick up Sacred Flame. And the thing is, you don't technically need Sacred Flame to complete the run. I found later. I used to think you did need it, but it does make it much safer. And so that's always my philosophy: is I'll go for safe over speed every single time.
How long did it take you to figure out that you could just chug through the pain in that lava?
Well, that's funny because you actually can't chug all the. When you're walking into the lava, you have to have the shield up. But when the shield block on the lava only actually works when you're facing that one particular wall. If you turn any other direction, you'll take full lava damage even with the shield up. And so what you have to do is run in to pick it up with the shield up, and it basically negates all the damage on the way in. And then on the way out, you have to chug the whole way back. If you had to chug both ways, you wouldn't be able to do it. Not at that level.
Wow. The intricacies and the game knowledge needed just for one small corridor of this entire run is crazy, man.
Well, there's actually a really funny story about that because I'd say of all the strats that went into developing the pirate run, that section required the most. It required the most research and the most help from chat and other people. Like, okay, like it's actually kind of a funny story. I thought I need Sacred Flame because otherwise I can't kill Crystal Sage in the first phase to quote unquote one cycle Crystal Sage. Turned out that's not true, but at the time that's what I believed. And so I tried really hard to route a safe path down through the demon ruins and all the way down to where the lava is, deal with Sorig, and then actually get into the lava to grab Sacred Flame. So I was actually first I was stuck on the initial run through the pillars where the fire demons are because there's these floating fire orbs that shoot, and I didn't think there was a safe path through that. There was two members of my chat who actually found the safe path, and they made diagrams, and they emailed me diagrams, and they showed me the path on these diagrams. They worked on it. They did hundreds of repetitions to test it to make sure it was safe, because I was about ready to give up. And they sent me the diagrams and say, this is 100% safe. And those are now the strats I use. And those two viewers were named by Pockney and Guybrush Fox. They figured it out. And so my hat's off to them, definitely. So that was the first challenge. The second challenge was I didn't think I could survive the lava damage. I really did not think I could survive the lava damage. I went and I got the Flamestone Plate Ring. I got the best fire resist armor you could get, which is the Conjurator set. I got the best 100% fire block shield, which is the Dragon Crest shield. I got Flash Sweat, the spell. I got what is it, Profuse Sweat, the other one that gives you resistance to everything. I got everything I could possibly do to reduce the fire damage, and it wasn't enough. And so I was like, what do I do? And the guy was like, eat a red bug pellet. Someone in chat suggested a red bug pellet. And I was like, okay, red bug pellet. So I looked it up on the wiki. And it turned out that red bug pellets only on the wiki are only found after Crystal Sage. And I was like, well, that's impossible then. But then someone else in chat said, no, there's 2 red bug pellets by where Sigurd fights the demon in that little house. And I checked it on the wiki and it wasn't there. But then when I went there in game, it was there. So the wiki was wrong. But if it wasn't for that person telling me that it was there, I never would have been able to get the run.
Oh my gosh. Just the sort of the crowdsourcing of the run and the audience interaction and just sourcing all the data, finding things that aren't on the wiki. I mean, that's so funny. I haven't found a lot of things on the Dark Souls 3 wiki that I feel like are wrong, but I remember one time Dragon Slayer armor is listed as being weak to dagger, which
is not true.
It's not a damage type either. Dagger's not a thing. So you can't trust the wiki, and there may be things out there that we haven't even discovered yet. Wow.
Well, I mean, there's aspects of the wiki that are just sort of incomplete, like they just don't have full information. But then there's parts where it is actually just incorrect. Like the details of the weaknesses of Phase 2 Demon Prince are pretty much all wrong. Like they say that he's weak to what did they say? They say he's weak to dark. He's not. He's actually strong to dark in second phase.
Yep.
In first phase, he's not weak or strong to it. It's just neutral. And so like there's several little details in there I don't think are quite right.
Wow, man. So it just like when you're doing something like this that's different and hasn't been done before. I mean, you basically like you're a scientist. You're like testing what works, what doesn't work, and you have to pull it all together. And at the end, if any one part of this doesn't work, the whole run's done, right?
Well, actually this brings me to something I did also want to talk about too, is that I prefer to be in the lab. You know, I prefer to be figuring out strats, trying to figure out how the game works to a more, advanced degree, manipulating the AI, figuring out all the right moves, what a mob is capable of doing, how do I beat this guy in this situation with this tool set. That's like where I want to be when it comes to playing Dark Souls 3. When actually doing the runs is actually less fun for me than figuring out the run. And so like I like you have to do the runs or otherwise all the science means nothing, right? And so like it's an unfortunate downside because I'd prefer to just be figuring out strats all the time. That's like what I want to be doing.
You know, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I think I'm much the same way too. I mean, it's kind of what I do in my day job, but it's really fun, or it can be fun to discover these things. And it sounds like your viewers were like you. These two guys wanted to do the same thing, and they were really excited to like map out how this whole thing worked. And because of that, you were able to actually do the run in a live environment.
Yeah,
that's just crazy, man. So just kind of in general, so we've established what a hitless run is and the intricacies and all the challenge, both in the lab and actually live on the run. But sort of what got you into hitless runs in particular, and is there any particular hitless runner that really inspired you?
So when I was trying to move away from playing Hearthstone, when I first started streaming, I was watching a Hearthstone streamer who did a variety day. and on his variety day he played Bloodborne, and his name was Ponyhoff. But when I watched him play Bloodborne, I was like, oh, this game looks so cool. I want to play this game. This game looks great. So I was like, oh, what do I have to do to get this game? So I went and checked it out, and I was like, oh, it's PS4 only. Darn, I don't have a PS4. I only, have a PC. So what's the next best thing? And so I was like, oh, Dark Souls 3. And it's newer than Bloodborne, and it's for PC. Let's do that. And so the first thing I did was just kind of Google some DS3 streamers, and the two ones that popped up were the Happy Hob and Distortion 2. And so in the runs, I just kind of perused some of their VODs, like some of their YouTube videos. And I saw Happy Hob doing no hit running, and I was like, oh, this is so. I mean, I saw quite a bit of speed running, but Happy Hob was the first one I saw that was doing no hit running. And I really, really liked the idea because to me, you're beating the game on the game's terms. You're not skipping parts. You're not, exploiting various things. You're beating the game the way, in a way, how it was meant to be beaten, and you're doing it perfectly. So I really liked that idea. And then one of Distortion's runs, he was doing a meme run, quote unquote, where he was speedrunning using pyromancy only. And so those two things sort of combined. And so the minute that I started playing, from the time I started playing Dark Souls 3, I knew that I was going to try to do a no hit run with pyromancy. So from day one, I was training to no hit the game with pyromancy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. And I had that same feeling too when I was watching these runs. I was like, I wanted to do this, but I wanted to do it differently. I've always been that way. And so when I thought about this idea of this kind of series that we're doing here, was kind of like breaking the meta, like doing something different than what other people are doing, I thought of you first, like casting the tournament and what you were doing and showing things off to that whole audience, like literally a couple thousand people over the course of the day watching that. I thought it was so cool. So kind of like, so it sounds like you were into Hearthstone before, maybe some other card games as well. Had you ever done any other kind of like hardcore PvE challenge, or was this really your first?
Yeah, no, not really. So basically, I've played Magic the Gathering for 20 years, kind of continuously, but kind of intermixed in there, I played some online TCGs, and then before that, I played WoW. But playing WoW, I didn't even do PvE. I was a PvP. I was completely focused on PvP, like Arena. Like that was my thing. Like I was trying to get to the top of the leaderboards in Arena and 2v2, and I did that for years. But see, my brother and I, we were 2v2 partners in WoW, and we had a very analytical approach. We always have. I feel like the analytical approach that I use in DS3 is very similar to the approach to playing Magic or even doing the arenas. You try to figure out what works best and why, and be very conscientious about it. You have to be very discerning. Like, this is good, this isn't. You have to really be willing to discard things that maybe you like in order to make something work. And so that aspect definitely carries over. But no, in terms of like big PvE challenges, this is definitely my first.
When I just heard that you were super into WoW and Arena, I knew why I liked you already. So you knew you were going to do the hit list runs. You kind of dabbled in the regular straight sword meta. Like, what was going through your mind when you were developing the spell-based run? Were you setting out to be different? You talked about just liking spells, but did you just do it because it was fun, or did you do it because you wanted to also do something that was different than everybody else was running?
Yeah, I mean, I started out, kind of trying to stand out. But I knew I wanted to do with Magic, so that was a pretty easy decision. The hard part was actually trying to figure out a way that people would accept the runs as, legitimate runs, because, according to the traditional no hit rules, Magic is not allowed at all. So it was actually tricky. I had to when I was developing the rules, I needed to talk to the community and build the rules with their ideas and their stipulations in mind, so it wouldn't be just like some guy doing a run somewhere. Like I wanted it to be, when I got a run, I wanted to be accepted by Team Hitless. I wanted everyone to sort of acknowledge it as legitimate. So I needed to make sure that they thought it was, was cool beforehand. And that started with Pyro. But because for a long time I didn't actually think sorcery was viable at all. because of the inability to one cycle Crystal Sage. But it was something I actually figured out much later, was there is a way to do that. So
Yeah, and I think that's like a really important thing too, because you're doing your own thing, but you're still trying to be part of a community, and you don't want to be on an island, right?
yeah, I mean, that was the thing, is I just felt like it would work in everyone's favor more if the runs were considered, legitimate and accepted. They have been, I feel like everyone, the no hit runners, they acknowledge my runs as being legitimate. That was important to me, you know. I don't know. I mean, wasn't just in terms of, growing the channel, it was also just so I could be a part of instead of apart from.
But I did notice a few people during the tournament, they were saying things like, "Oh, spells are overpowered. It's too easy. It's this, it's that, blah blah blah." Now, I personally feel like that's a trash comment, but I want to hear your expert opinion of, since you've sort of done both, like, how do you feel like sort of the balance of power is between pyro and a sword run? What's more challenging? What's less challenging?
Well, it's okay. So first, I want to say that among the three, all three spell types, right? Pyromancy, sorcery, and miracles. Pyromancy is absolutely the strongest of those three, right? So I just get that out of the way first. But in direct response to what they were saying, I would say to someone who's saying, it's overpowered, it's overpowered, or it's too easy, I would say try it. try the run, because I would actually really be excited, first of all, for other people to be interested in it enough to try it. But also, no hitless run is easy, and discover that pretty quick. So yeah, I've done runs using weapons, and I personally think that neither is clearly stronger than the other or clearly easier than the other. Spell-based runs are longer and require picking up way more items, gaining way more levels in order to get your damage up, high enough, as compared to like the meta of like Sellsword Twin Blades, which doesn't require even close to as much level investment to get the damage to a decent spot. Let's see. But I mean, I can understand, like, to a casual observer looking at, say, like the second half of a pyro run, watching me just like melt bosses, especially bosses that happen to be weak to fire or something. It looks really overpowered, but it's because it took so much time and more effort to build up to that point. I mean, you have to get more ash. You have to get all the Ashen Estus, so you have to pick up every Estus. You have to get undead bone shards to make the Estus effective. You have to get all of the rings that boost your spell damage. And so there are spots where it is easier, for sure. In particular, when you're fighting against, say, trash mobs, right? That is the spot in which fighting at range with high damage spells definitely appears the easiest. And it affords you some benefits that you can, make certain run sections in between bosses a little safer. But it takes longer. Everything takes longer to do that. If you're going to clear mobs instead of run past them, it takes longer. And so in terms of like a tournament, it's a disadvantage in that way. Your runs are always going to take way longer than, say, a normal weapon run would take. And so, if you tie on hits, then you automatically lose if your run was, took more time.
Yeah, and that was a lot of the commentary with Faraz and I and others, is that we were trying to figure out, like you had to be perfect every single match. Everybody else could have a little bit of leeway, but if you weren't perfect, you had no chance of winning. And even if you were perfect, your fastest run, let's say, you've ever done, you could still lose.
Oh, I mean, almost certainly would lose. In the sense that, like, an average sellsword run takes like just over 2 hours, whereas the fastest run I could possibly do is about 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah, and that's tough. But do you think that aspect helps you focus just on one thing, like just on executing well and not worrying as much about time? Do you think that puts a little bit of pressure off of you versus the other runners that are trying to do both?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a choice, right? Like when you decide to do, a pyro run or, a spells run, then you're making the decision that you're just giving up on winning on time. And so in a way it simplifies things because it's just like, okay, so there's no reason to rush. I have no reason to go fast. I have no incentive to go fast because I'm not going to win that way anyway. The only way I'm going to win is perfect runs, perfect execution, and just hope my opponent doesn't get hit, or hope my opponent does get hit. I mean, and so like that, because of that, in a way, it does focus me. It focuses me on the thing that I think is most important in a no hit tournament, which is just not to get hit.
Yeah. And I don't think there's an answer to this question. It's more rhetorical, but I think what would be interesting the more we do these, especially if we can do some more like a best of 3 match and things like that in the finals, it would be interesting to see if your run were sort of less RNG based in some ways and more consistent, or just you as a player are more consistent than, say, another runner doing the traditional build, but who's taking some more risks and who's used to trying to race on time. I don't know if you have a comment on that. It's just it's something that comes to mind.
It's something that I thought about quite a bit, actually, because I watch all the other runners. I watch as many as I can who do no hit, and you get to see the differences in their play style, sort of based around their personality. And so okay. So here's how I look at it. There's different approaches to it, right? If you're just trying to get a run for yourself and you're not competing with anybody, then there's a lot of very valid, strategies. So one strategy is I'm going to take more risks. I'm going to go faster, and I'm just going to, bum rush various sections so that if I get hit, I'll have time to do another run. Like if I get hit, I can just reset and go again and get more runs in per stream or per session, right? And that's legitimate, but it's a little bit more like it's a little bit more quantity over quality, right? Their idea is, I do it quick, I do it efficient, and I get through it or I don't. And if I don't, I just reset and I get another run. So I'm the exact inverse of that, where I'm quality over quantity. So what I've done is put a lot of effort into strats. I put a lot of effort into, okay, this guy hit me once. He's never hit me before. And this is, say, the 50th time I've gone past this part and I got hit. So that means there's around a 1 in 50 chance, maybe less, or maybe more, of getting hit here. So in those situations, is there something I can do to make the chance of him hitting me 0%? And what I find is that in DS3, there almost always is a way to make it 0%. But almost always it requires more time or more items or more routing. So I will always give the run more time if it changes a strat from 1 in 50 to 1 in 2,000 or something. I will always give it that time. And so obviously, once again, it makes my runs longer, but I'm trying to get basically a really high quality run at least once a day instead of 5, slightly riskier runs a day. And you can see even sellsword runners, some of them trying the same exact approach. Positive has, for instance, has worked out a whole bunch of very safe strats using the traditional no hit. So that approach is possible for both spells and for weapons.
Yeah, and that's I think I personally really like that approach. It's also in my view better for the viewer to see more quality runs versus quantity. I think and I don't want to step on any toes, but I am more of a viewer and commentator than I am a no hit runner, right? I've dabbled a little bit, but I don't do the runs. So when I'm thinking about the runs, I'm thinking about it from an entertainment standpoint, right? When we're doing the tournaments, I'm pushing runners to try to get rid of reset options and things like that so that we can focus on the viewers and the entertainment. So what may be optimized in terms of like getting the X number of runs complete in one day is different than what's better to watch. And so when I think of somebody choosing 1 or maybe 2 really good quality runs versus multiple resets, I'm going to choose quality.
Well, I mean, there's always a downside, right? Even in terms of entertainment value, because the strats that I've, adopted for the quality purpose, for the just basically trying to reduce hit chance, means that the runs go a little slower. They're not as exciting. I'm not just running past and just, because I think one thing that is very exciting for viewers too is that when you run past a situation where there's just tons of stuff flying at you and you miraculously don't get hit, or at least to the viewer, it's miraculous, so there's a certain excitement to that. The downside is that, how damaging to the entertainment is it when you have to reset,
Yeah. And that's a challenge, and that's something speed runners have to do, and lots of other content creators as well. When you have these natural sort of like ending points, it's like, oh, run's done. I'm going to go do the laundry now. See you later.
Right.
But
Right.
that's the name of the game, so you
Yep.
got to accept it, right?
Yep.
So just kind of moving on here then. So and this is like the only downer part of the whole interview. So if you're listening to this, guys, we're not going to get any more down than this. This is an upbeat, happy thing. But we've talked about some really good moments and getting runs and winning tournaments and all that. But there been any particular tough experiences, or maybe a couple of them that you recall on the journey to the world record, and what was that like?
You know, it's funny. It kind of ties into what I was saying before. I don't really have a bad time when attempting runs. Like when I'm attempting to get, to accomplish the goal. I'd say the scariest time was when I was at a very low PB, a very low personal best, when going for my first pyro no hit. That was the scariest time because if you've never completed a no hit before, then that can be really like you kind of feel like you're beating your head against the wall. Like, am I ever actually going to accomplish this? Like, I'm so close, but every time I get memed or something weird happens or whatever. And that was probably the scariest time, but I wouldn't even call it a downer per se. Like, I'd say the biggest downer happens in the development of the run when I'm trying to work out strats and I hit a roadblock. Those are the downer moments, where I'm just like, oh man, I don't even know if this is possible. Like, it should be possible, but I can't figure it out. Like, I'm stuck. Like, that to me is the down part. Like, doing the runs is great because usually that means that everything's all worked out.
Sure. You just need to get that magical run, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's actually good. I think everybody has different experiences with these types of things. Some people are more sort of affected by a failed run than others, and it sounds like you have a really good positive attitude about that, and that's awesome, man.
Well, it's sort of like the way I think about it is like doing these runs is kind of improbable to begin with. And so you have to, I go in like accepting that. Like, I think of it like geology, like it's time and pressure, right? And so you're going to get hit sometimes due to the game behaving weird, and you're going to get hit sometimes due to just mistakes. And those are both equally forgivable, right? That's just part of it. You're going to make mistakes sometimes. You're going to get hit because of it. Sometimes the game is going to do something weird. You're going to get hit because of that. Like, it's just part of it. Every time you get hit, I try my best to learn something. Like, I try to take something away from it to keep it productive, but it's not always the case.
I think this is so great. Like, people come here for the Dark Souls and they stay for the science, man. All these lessons. Back to the victories, though. Like, what was it like winning the Dark Souls 3 Hitless tournament finals against Squilla Killa, the reigning champion from the prior tournament? Just a god gamer himself, well known for his amazing no-hit skills. What was it like being in the finals with him, and what was it like winning?
Well, I think going into the finals, I was trying to not think about the fact that it was the finals and that it was Squilla, because I was like, oh man, I think I was thinking to myself, well, Squilla's probably not gonna get hit, so I'm probably toast, because there's no way that I'm gonna, there's no way I'm gonna beat him on time. So it's just like, yeah, that's all right. So then I was just like, all right, I'll just focus on myself and my run and just, do a good run. Just try to have a good time, basically. I was actually just thrilled to be in the finals because, like, my goal was actually just to get kind of deep into the tournament, just to kind of show people the run. Like, it wasn't about, I don't think it was ever really about winning. It was just like, oh, people get to see pyromancy. This is awesome. This is kind of what I was going for. But I didn't expect to win any of the rounds at all. Like, I wasn't even going to do the tournament. It was the other runners who pulled me in, who said, you should do the tournament. We've got to have pyromancy. We want to see you do it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so when I found myself there in the finals, I was like, oh man, I could actually, whoa. And I was trying not to get ahead of myself and not think, oh, I could win. So yeah, I mean, to actually win, I didn't actually believe it until like I got that final hit on Cinder, and I was like, oh, did I just win? I think I just won. I was just like, wow, holy moly.
And that was crazy. And we're going to play that whole segment now. Your reaction was just killer, man. It was so fun to watch that. My wife and I actually, when I was watching it live, of course, I couldn't hear your audio, so I was just seeing your face and the reactions and everything. My wife and I actually, after the tournament, went on and watched your VOD like at least twice. It was, to anybody who hasn't done it yet, I'll put a link in the video. Like, you got to watch it. It was just the best, like one of the best moments on Twitch, man.
Wow. I even kind of downplayed the memes a little bit.
Well, yeah, there weren't any naked guys on. I don't think. I was waiting for the half naked Japanese dancer guys. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but they're pretty funny. But I was waiting for them to pop up on my stream, and they didn't.
That's a missed opportunity on my part. I apologize to everyone. Yeah,
next apologize.
Time. But yeah, I can tell you what it is. It's glorious. That's what it is.
Glorious. All right. Beautiful. So interestingly too, so there were 12 runners in the tournament. I think we cut 2 in the qualifier, so there were 14 that entered. You and Squilla came in at number 9 and number 10 seeds. Not, I think your performances probably in the qualifiers were not on par as you usually would, but you come in with a disadvantage. What was it like playing against those odds, or were you just like, I'm just doing the runs?
I guess I didn't think about the odds too much. You know, it's just because I looked at who I was, matched against every round, and there was someone who was definitely a threat, like a very, very good runner in every single round. So to me, like the seeding, it didn't make that much difference to me. There was a serious contender in every round. And so, I mean, because all these runners are good. I mean, come on, all the people who made it in were really, really good for the most part. And so it's just, yeah, I guess I didn't think about it that much. I mean, it's kind of an advantage of doing these kind of runs is they're like golf in the sense that you're not really competing against them. You're just competing against yourself. You know, it's like if you do well, then, you can be proud, win or lose. You can still be proud. Yeah.
Well, and so in Group C, we had Squilla against Donnie Recht, who was in the finals last time. David Tanker, who's very competitive. Squilla was able to get out of there. You were in Group D. You were able to off Faraz Khan, who is an amazing runner, and Aaron the Baron, who's really improved his runs and had a very good qualifier. So the fact that both of you made it out, I think, was either just some magic thing that happened, or this whole tournament, like everybody involved is so competitive that anybody can win at any point in time.
I think it's absolutely true. I mean, it's these type of tournaments are not really they're not really a competition of who is the best. They're more competition of who's having the best day, with the game and with the runs and with everything. It's just who's doing better that day, because this game can hit anybody, man. Like weird stuff can happen to anyone at any time. Like a mob who's never hit you before does something you've never seen before, and all of a sudden you're hit. Like that's just how it goes. So I mean, also I don't like competing against Faraz. I mean, well, obviously he's a really good runner, but the reason is that when I was like when I was trying to grow on Twitch, I was sort of spent some time trying to get the attention of some of the OG original, legends of No Hit, and Faraz was the one who was like very fostering of what I was trying to do, and he was like real supportive, and he'd throw me hosts and he'd shout me out and all this stuff, and so I don't know, I felt like he really helped me grow my channel and my my stream and everything. So I just didn't like competing against him for that reason. I was just like, oh no, not Faraz,
So it was kind of like eliminating your big brother from the tournament.
Yeah, like it didn't feel so good,
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up an excellent point too, and this is something that I've noticed as well. Squilla, Hob, Faraz, all three of these guys that are kind of like probably the biggest names right now, although I'd say you're right up there now, man, with what you've done. But these three have really they popularized the runs, but they're so supportive of the whole community, all of them. And even as their channels have grown, they're still very down to earth, very supportive people, and I think that's what makes this whole thing so fun.
Yeah, I really do feel like, I mean, I think people say these words a lot, but I really do feel like it's the best community on Twitch. In that we are not out to get each other, it's us versus the game, and we're always, working together to try to beat the game in different ways. And so like that's huge, man. Like it's very tight knit, and I really like that.
sort of switching gears here, uh, more about kind of content creators in general on Twitch. You've talked about your inspiration for the no hit runs and things like that, but is there any like one channel out there? And I know this is hard, right? Because it's hard to pick one channel, but when you were very early in your streaming career, was there any one channel out there that was like your biggest inspiration to stream and just create content?
Oh man. I don't think there was one. I think there was like, 5 or 6 that sort of combined to sort of give me an idea of what I wanted my stream to look like. You know what I mean? Like it was, I mean, in terms of in various aspects, like how am I going to be entertaining? Like how am I going to, joke around and be funny, or what kind of music am I going to play? Am I going to have sound effects? What kind of content am I going to do? What kind of games am I going to play? They're all from sort of different streamers that combined. But I don't know. I mean, it's a tricky one. It's a really tricky one. If I don't think I can pick just one. I don't think it's possible.
What if you had to pick just two? No one's feelings are going to be hurt. They're going to understand that this was early Couch, right? This isn't Couch now. Now you know so many more people. Try to think back to when you were like first doing it. Like, who were like the biggest inspirations? And I'll give you an example of mine, and they will always be mine, like always, in everything that I do. The Happy Hob and Dr. Disrespect, like 100%. Like, and I love a lot of other people, but those are at my core. And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but if there's somebody like it's really like embedded in your soul that you just can't pry out.
I'd say the Happy Hob was one for me. And before I even knew about most of the other no-hit runners, there was a guy named Banshee. And I just saw him just one time. But he was working hard on his stream. So much so that, he was joking around, he's laughing, he was playing funny music, and he had all of his music and sound effects on trigger pad, on a MIDI controller trigger pad. And that's where I got the idea to use a MIDI controlled trigger pad for my stream. So I'd say that Happy Hob probably for like game content, right? And also the fact that he's, he loves to joke around. And then probably Banshee for the bells and whistles part. Probably those two.
Thanks for entertaining us on this question. I know it's really a hard one. Outside of the this is just kind of like a high YouTube kind of silly moment here, but anyone special out there that you want to shout out in particular, maybe somebody outside of the Twitch universe that's been very influential or supportive of what you do?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to list everybody. How's that? Okay, all right, and most of them are on Twitch, by the way. So all the Soulsborne streamers who help make the community great, that's Happy Hob, Squilla, Farazcon, Donnie Rect, Positive, Z Colpster, Slippery Susie, Gino Machino, Gimme Dopamine, Toasty Wolf, David Tanker, Genie, Gotta TV Eye, Ogre Banani, Quiddy, Ghost Sagan, Viking Baruda, Crowley, Camila, Jack Sensei, Swish and Shoot, Chameleon, Dibs on Everything, Tiger G92, Xenosum, Red Dawn, Angrish, Mogan Kai, Goes on Ghost, Luality, Splatter, and Roxy, MMCV, Milty Milt, Bear for President, and Mappy, Jesus Here's Toast, Aaron the Baron, Mike Bianchi, Naboisha, Lemongrass, Sluggo Rider, Mephisto Live, McDrunkard, Otstarva, Fudge Cow, Siren Wolf, The Millie Bear, Abyss XOXO, Coltrane, Medivus, and iFrame. To all my viewers and fans, special mention to Deck for inspiring me to try on Sage again the hard way. And to Bipocney and Guybrush Fox for working hard to make those diagrams and of the safe route through Demon Ruins. And to my new girlfriend, Oline, for helping me develop countless strats and allowing me to teach her the sorcery run, which is the best way to learn it yourself. And of course, lots of love to the Happy Cushion, Carl Just Carl, Jeff Clearly Jeff, and Looney Rooney, who are all sex machines.
All right. I was hoping to get a love interest in there, get a little bit of personal aspect. That's awesome, man. I feel like we could create a whole like remix rap out of that whole shout out. That is going to be content gold.
We'll have to make it
thank
into a gotchi.
Hell yeah, man. All right. We will collaborate on that. Oh my gosh. All right. So, what's next for you in the hitless runs? And I have one follow-up on this, and I hope I remember it. So, but what are you doing right now, and what is your biggest goal?
So yeah, right now it's all DS3. I want to complete the 9 runs that I have, the 4 I've already done. So we still got another 5 to do, and that's like priority number 1. But beyond that, it's if I complete one of those runs, the next thing on the horizon is to do SL1 spells only, which could easily just become SL1 pyromancy only, any percent, which I think is a possible run. I've been routing that for a while now. And then let's see, and then another one was viewer's choice weapon run. I was gonna have them vote in my Discord to decide which weapon I no hit the game with. And then I guess beyond that, it's the next games that come out. Code Vein and Sekiro are the 2 that I have my eye on for Soulsborne.
So you must have read my mind, because my follow-up was, I think, tied in with what you're talking about on the SL1 spell runs. So think about this, and I'm sure you already have. Time is important in the tournament
Sure.
environment, right? Part of the time is leveling up, getting different things. But if you're able to accomplish an SL1 pyro run, don't you think you could cut your time and your build requirements in the regular run? Come on, let's get back in the lab, right?
So the thing is, the strats are going to be okay. All right. The run that I have been routing is SL1 spells only, and it'll use a combination of pyromancy and sorcery to accomplish. And it goes through the any percent, right? Just the any percent. SL1 pyro only, I don't think would be able to just do the any percent. I think it would have to do all bosses main game, because it needs to pick up the priestess ring in order to cast Black Flame. So to get the priestess ring, you have to kill Champion Gunder. And so the other thing, the other part is that on SL1, killing Cinder takes 25 minutes at least. It is absolute minimum. Every single boss takes no less than 15 minutes typically, because your damage is absolute trash. You're not doing any damage. You have to route every single Ashen Estus. You often have to go into fights with no healing Estus whatsoever, and you have to have everything dedicated to Ashen Estus. And there's certain bosses, like Cinder's a good example. If Cinder heals during spear phase more than twice, you have to Homeward Bone, because you don't have enough mana to kill him. You don't have enough. And so, yeah, you have to just do it again. So I'd say on average, the SL1 spells only run is just the any percent is going to take 6 to 7 hours to complete.
Well, that's a long time. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing like what you may develop, and I don't know. Maybe my mind is just so closed off, but I didn't even think about like, what if you just combine all the spells into a single run? Do you think you could make that faster on a leveled build? Like, do you think that's possible?
Let me think about that for a second. Basically, okay. So, okay, so what I think is there's no reason to use anything other than sorcery and pyromancy. Miracles doesn't benefit you in any way. And also the sorceries that you would benefit from using would most likely be ones where you don't have to level up the staff for them to be effective. So basically what it would be is pyromancy with Pestilent Mist. That would be my thinking. Pestilent Mist would allow you to cheese Wolnir without him waking up. What else could you do with Pestilent Mist? It seems like there might be some other added benefits. You can set up RTSR anywhere. But in the any percent run, I just don't know if you need much more than pyromancy. Like, pyromancy seems to sort of cover everything. I mean, the truth is that you wouldn't be able to go any faster if you were routing sorcery, because then you also have to get sorcery items, sorcery scrolls. You have to get Orbeck. You have to pick up the golden scroll in order to get Pestilent Mist. Like, it's not. I don't think it would add. I don't think it would take time away. I think it would just add time. And that at the end of the day, you're still doing a spells run, so that still means all the Ashen Estus. It still means all the undead bone shards. Yeah, I don't see you gaining much out of that, to be honest.
You know what? I'm just gonna feel good about the fact that I've planted a little bit of a seed, maybe, right? Because you've already got this break the meta mentality, and I feel like if anybody could figure something out, if the time worked and it was worth the effort, I feel like you could make this happen. And I would love to see some sort of hybrid build coming into the tournament with very competitive time, and the straight sword guys crying a foul that Magic's too easy. I would just love to see it because they have such a powerful weapon, and it's the meta, and everybody uses it, and it would be so cool to see somebody using something different that
Well,
we're
see,
still competitive on
what would
time.
be completely unfair, in my opinion, completely overpowered, would be the ability to use a weapon plus spells, which is something that's obviously prohibited, right? That's definitely because there's a very clear advantage to being able to utilize both when it suits you. Um, the real benefit to having a weapon is that you have unlimited resources. It's just you and your stamina. Like there's no mana to factor in. But then there's certain parts that you could essentially cheese if you were able to pick up spells at that, just for that fight or just for that moment. But even still, even with if you're doing a hybrid build, right? I actually still don't think it would benefit you that much, primarily because of upgrading materials. Like you're not going to upgrade a pyromancy flame and a sword. Like there's just too many upgrade materials that would require. And so in the end, it's only going to slow you down. Like I feel like you have to go one or the other. You have to pick your focus. So hybridizing, I wish it gained you more, but it just doesn't. Not when time is a factor, right? Because you always have to pick which one you're leveling up. You know.
Given that I didn't give you any time to prepare for this question, it just came to me in the middle of the interview. I think you answered it amazingly. I think the fact that you can just go and kind of crunch the numbers like Squilla does during his run on his probability analysis of getting hit by XYZ angle, like I think the way you're able to do that is so cool. And any innovations that I think you bring to the run or a future game, I think are going to be a benefit to the entire community.
Well, thank you.
I loved having a different thing to show in the tournament. It just was. I wish it were the same time basis, and I don't know how to solve that. But if there are any tweaks that could be made in the future with different, a little bit of bending of a rule here or there, or something that's not like breaking the whole thing. But I just like the fact that you're going in there doing something different, and because everybody does the same stuff all the time, so that's what makes you unique, and that's what makes it fun for viewers.
Oh, I know what we
think
should
to
do.
watch.
We should have everyone in the tournament be forced to use pyro only, and force me to use twin blades.
Let's freaking do that, man. That would be amazing. I've got to say that would be funny to see Faraz use like pyro. Like he doesn't know what any of those things do.
And then watch me get hit by Dragon Slayer over and over trying to hit him with twin blades. Wait, I have to hit L1?
Oh my gosh. So much work. I can't just fireball his ass
accidentally
from 50
hitting
yards
R1
away. Oh man, well, you have inspired me. Like I've watched all these runs, but you've inspired me to want to learn the pyro run. So don't tell anybody, but I've been kind of practicing your run, the any % pyro offline. But don't tell anybody, all right? Because I want to come in at some point in time. If I can finish that run and get some decent consistency offline, like I want to come in and get my ass kicked by you in some match, because that would just
that would be fun.
Be fun,
so you've been following the guide?
I've been following the guide, and I'm going to put a link to the guide in this video as well. So if you guys want to do what Couch does or try, we're going to have the link there and you guys can watch it. And he just breaks down the whole thing. It's a good guide, right? You're not leading me astray. I think everything is
up to date.
Right?
I think everything's current. That's the one concern I had when I was making, the video and writing. I mean, with the written part, I can always change it, but the video, is more permanent. So, but my plan is to actually make a guide for all 9 runs. The guides take quite a bit of time to make. Like just the pyro guide with video and written took like 35 hours total to complete. In terms of like takes and getting it all recorded and good to go. But I want to do a video tutorial as well for the sorcery all boss, because with current understanding of the game, sorcery only any % is not viable. Because well, there's just a whole bunch of reasons. Sorcery is definitely harder than pyro. And then surprisingly, miracles any % is viable, but I don't think it's the right way to do it. I think that all bosses main game is the best way to do it, because miracles damage is extremely low, and so you kind of need the extra bosses' souls in order to have high enough damage.
Yeah, and I noticed that just doing, more casual runs, Miracles just did not seem to be that good in this game at all. Pyro was very strong. Sorcery seemed
Yeah, I
decent,
actually have like
though.
a whole rant about miracles. Man, I could go on and on about miracles. Oh god. So
So
bad.
bad. Yeah, sometimes when you break the meta, it's not good. So maybe you want to break it in like a different way
Yeah.
where it's still
I mean, dude,
fun.
it's just Pyro is just so much stronger than the others. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Oh my God. Well, dude, this is crazy. This is so fun. This is the first episode that we're doing in this series. I've got some other people in the Souls community as well. I don't think anyone's doing anything quite as different as you, but I have some great ideas, and I am so excited to have you as the first one on here. Obviously, people know that you're on Twitch, but where can people find all of your
So the
content,
best
dude?
place to find me is always Twitch TV/Couch Jockey. And there's a link to my Discord in there. So anyone wants to jump in my Discord will catch all of my updates. As I upload more tutorial videos, I'll be putting those on YouTube as well. And that's also just /Couch Jockey. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at,
Well, there you have it, guys. The spectacular couch jockey, world record holder, and reigning Dark Souls 3 hitless tournament champion. Man, we're really looking forward to seeing you in the next tournament, and thanks so much for speaking with us today.
Yep, should be fun. Thanks for having me.
Wow, guys, that was a hell of an interview. So much fun talking to Couch about his perspectives on breaking the meta in Dark Souls 3 hitless runs. He really shows that being unique can be challenging but fun, and completely capable of competing with meta strats. Congrats again to him on the tournament win. That was so much fun to watch. Really hope you guys liked the video, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. This is the first entry of a multi-part series on breaking the meta in video games. You don't want to miss it. Goodbye.